Monday, August 13th, 2018. It is now available and accessible to members of the public. Would you now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the consent agenda as presented, including approval of the agenda as submitted, approval of minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting on July 9th, 2018, approval of budgetary receipts and expenditures for June 2018, approval of option students, approval of the resignation of Jeanette Falder, and approval of contracts for the 2018-2019 school year, Vicki Hurd preschool.
All right, I have a motion. Can I have a second?
motion.
Second by Nancy.
Just a few comments on the treasurer's report.
Okay.
As you'll notice, there's a small boost in the general fund from last month, $1,498,817 and change due to tax receipts. Keep in mind, July and August are non-revenue receipt months in the eyes of the state aid formula. So that means no state aid checks are given to any schools across the state during that time. As we finish payroll for the month of August, we will know more about where we end the 17-18 school year, and we will keep you up to speed on this. The one advantage we have in the central office staff is we do have the ability real time to look at the ALIO reports and determine those numbers daily. So even though the reports that you have reflect 2 months in the rear, we will be able to look at those monthly and make some good determinations. I can tell you that in real-time numbers, our activities fund is going to need supplemented for the 18-19 school year, which isn't anything different than what you've done in the past. The question you will have on the backside of that is obviously how much, and I will tell you that that will all depend on when we get through the August payroll and see what summer expenses we have related to salaries and wages. But we are currently wrapping those up. A big kudos to Jackie Bornemeyer, who is working feverishly, paper to pen to computer, to try and make sure everything's in order. And I just want her to know how much we appreciate everything that she's doing in terms of picking up the budget responsibilities.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Do we have any more comments? All right, then if I can have your votes, please. That passes 6-0. I'd also like to welcome back Nancy for her long recuperation.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the approval of the proposed accounts for payment. If I can have a motion for that.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the payment of bills as presented.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if I can have your...
Need a second.
Second.
Oh, sorry, thank you. We have a second by Nancy. Now, if I can have your votes. Okay, we have Doris abstaining from the vote, so we're passed 5-0. Next up, outstanding recognition.
That no vote is just, or abstention is just a matter of protection in terms of paying salaries and benefits, and Doris being part of that is the reason for the abstention. So just a clarification and reflection of that.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Nielsen, I believe you are up.
Hey, good evening. August is always a time to look back to summer and figure out, okay, who was working over summer and what did we do? Now, I will tell you, it's always hard to come up with an employee month because there are so many people that are working during the summer and really helping our buildings get back into shape, really putting together programs that are awesome for our kids, but also taking care of the other things. Our employee for the month for August is Renee Splitter, so if she would join me up here, that would be fantastic. And during the summer months, Renee has spent much time being tasked with projects and activities which fall out of her scope of job duties. They've just been handed to her. She has been developing websites to promote safety and security, helping to align our enrollment procedures, as well as developing a system to track transportation information. These components have taken a substantial amount of time, but have tremendously helped the district continue to progress towards its goals to have a safe and efficient environment for all students. Renee also is at the first impression in our district as many different stakeholders visit the board office or call the board office. She continues to keep a smile on her face and a pleasant tone in her voice as she works through situations which may arise with families. And lately we've had quite a few with transportation. She helps parents troubleshoot problems so that they can create the most positive situation for the family. She is a positive support system for the Beatrice Public School District, and we are thankful that she is our employee. We would like to congratulate Renee as August Employee of the Month.
Nice looking.
Thank you.
Renee has been at the forefront of all of our busing changes this year, and helping communicate that to the public, and she has done it in very gracious manner, so she sits out the door, and we do appreciate her. So, Dr. Nielsen, thank you for that.
All right, next up, we move on to our information portion of the meeting. First off, superintendent report, Mr. Alexander.
In preparing this, I have tried just to pick a few things out, because I could go on forever on the great things that are happening. But to start with, the school year, it's finally upon us. August 15th, we start with kindergarten through 9th grade, and excited for each one of those students to experience school at Beatrice Public Schools for the first year, or for the first time this year. And we truly have taken our theme of making a difference to heart, and are excited to welcome those kiddos back. August 16th, the PK through the 12th, it will be the first day for preschool through 12th grade to join us. And then, as you know, Paddock Lane will join us on August 20th to accommodate move-in times for staff and so forth. So the school year is upon us. It's a great time of year in regards to welcoming students back. I know our staff has been preparing extremely hard to make it a good experience for all those kids, and it's exciting to see them come into the office, especially the ones who still appreciate school and be excited to come back. So, busing, going to talk a little bit about that. We have tried to establish ourselves around three key principles and priorities in busing. Number one, being safety. Our goal is to provide the safest transportation system we can from point A to point B and back to point A at the end of the day, and communicate with Mid-States to help us do that. The second priority we've tried to establish is equity. We all sat down as a group of administrators and with Renee as our communicant and Mid-States, and said what is equitable for all of our students, not just for the ones who live on one side of the town or other or out in the country, but for all of our students. And we established that what's reasonable is a 4-block radius for students to have to get to a bus stop. There is no way that we can accommodate 432 students' schedules. And so we've tried to come up with something that's equitable in terms of doing that. Now, when I was a kid, I had to walk 12 miles uphill both ways in a snowstorm to get to school every day. And so we just ask everybody to keep that in mind, that as we do this and establish equity, we're trying to make sure that nobody has to walk more than 4 blocks. So just a side note there. The final thing we've tried to do is establish efficiency. And that means keeping everybody on schedule, picking up at a certain time, dropping off at a certain time, and communicate that to everyone ahead of time. So we've tried to do that. Busing's been a big focal point. It's taken a lot of planning and a lot of time and a lot of preparation. So as we start the school year, know that if there's changes that need to be made, we're committed to making those changes in the name of those three things. And we appreciate everybody's patience and understanding in what we're trying to accomplish there. The last thing that I would add, and just trying to keep it brief, is that we're off to a terrific start. We've got a terrific group of committed individuals back there trying to live our theme every day, and we need everybody's help to make a difference in the lives of a child. And there's no better feeling than to be part of that. So we ask that you help us in that. We ask that you support us in that. And you know, for the next 185 days, that will be our goal, is to make a difference every day.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any comments or questions for Jason after? Seeing none? This is the time for public forum, citizen request, and comments related to agenda items. Was there anyone that had wished to speak at this moment on anything? All right, nobody's jumping up, so we will move right on. Moving into the discussion portion. First up, we have, well, actually, let me ask, do you want to cover all of this in one large group, or would you rather do each individually?
At this point, I think we can do it all in one large group. These are all policies that we've talked about at the committee of the whole meeting. We talked about them at the last board meeting, and so I feel like we can cover them all in one swoop unless there's questions.
Nope, sounds good. It looks like it's just second reading for almost all of them, so you'll go ahead and just touch on anything you would like to. Anything?
At this point, I don't have anything different unless there's questions.
All right, I'll open it up. Any questions from the board members on any of the second reading of policies? Okay. Hearing none, we will then move down to the very last part, which is going to be the Paddock Lane edition. With that, we had Randy Rogge and Michael Faco that were going to speak to us.
I did ask these gentlemen, I'll just open it up. I did ask these three gentlemen to attend the board meeting tonight. As you know, there's a lot of discussion in the community and a lot of questions about why the building is not complete with the August 1st completion date. And just in total transparency, there's a lot of reasons that we could speculate as to, but there's also a lot of reasons why it simply was out of everyone's control. And these three gentlemen have decided to show up tonight to help us understand some of those things and explain that. So the accurate information does get out, and I appreciate them being willing to come. I know it hasn't been an easy trip for them tonight to be here, and I know they're all working extremely hard to get us finished with as little a delay as possible. So at this point, I would open it up to questions with the understanding that we have had numerous meetings in the last couple of weeks in which they have tried to push contractors and push subcontractors to get as much done as possible, and we do appreciate that. But I do think everyone needs the opportunity to ask whatever questions they might feel like need to be answered. So this is your opportunity.
Anyone have any questions they'd like to forward to them?
Maybe you could clear up the whatever part was not ordered or was late, or how that happened.
For the benefit of the people listening at home, we would ask that you come to the table, otherwise they can't hear if they're watching at home on TV. Thank you. I hear that all the time.
Okay, well, just to give a little background on how the material is approved. So once we get contracts and we line up all of our subcontracts, okay, one of them was a mechanical subcontractor, and through the process, we asked them to submit their material, their information on the equipment that was specified, and we submit that to the architect and the engineer for their review to make sure that everything's in line and everything meets the specifications. So that was done. It was probably, I don't know, a couple of months after the contract. They didn't get them in exactly real expeditiously. We were after them to submit them. At that point, they submitted, the particular item we're talking about is the ERV, the Energy Recovery Unit, okay? It's part of the system. It goes into to help bring in the, to help make the system more efficient. So, I'm gonna let Ray go through kind of the steps a little bit of what happened. He can explain it a little bit better.
So after these units were submitted to DLR, the supplier was unable to provide what DLR was asking for, what they were asking for. So it went back several times back and forth between them, and phone conversations between our mechanical engineer, our mechanical suppliers and DLR, and decided to go with a different manufacturer that could supply the requirements. That process took about 9 weeks. Way too long.
So what time of the year was that? When they, like, a year ago in August, I think we decided to build the building correctly, or we awarded the contract?
I'll give you a timeline on that.
Yeah,
We got the project the end of November. Contracts were executed about the middle of December, second week of December. Okay, so we didn't start until the second week of December, okay? Some of the discussion was about the start of the project too. Well, this building is a metal building. It's a pre-engineered metal building, okay? The metal buildings out there, essentially we get their submittal, and we got their submittal right away. It was submitted. Their timeline is 4 weeks for drawings to submit for approval, and then after they're approved, then there's 12 weeks for the building before it hits the ground. Basically, we need to get the foundation in before the building hits the ground. The foundation was in by the time the building hit the ground. So, there wasn't a whole lot more we could do until the building gets there. But in the meantime, we try to get as many of the other submittals in as possible. That was probably, I don't have that exact date, it was probably February or March, I believe, when they submitted theirs. So once that, and so that 9-week period, that's kind of been a big portion of the discussion here. And it's unacceptable, I agree. We kind of went back and forth. I think the subcontractor had some communication direct with DLR. We were kind of hoping to be able to get what they'd submitted approved, but that they didn't. So by the time we got through that process, the manufacturer said it's not going to ship until, next week, which won't be until, we won't get it until following. So, that was the process. We've tried everything. We've talked to the manufacturer, we've had the engineers call the manufacturer, everybody, and they're just saying, we don't care, you're in line, this time of year, we're busy, and you'll get your unit when it comes off the line. So that's the delay. Some of that kind of held up some things. We were waiting, for that, so that we could close things in. Well, since then, we've determined, okay, we're not gonna get it, so we went ahead, we're hooking the units up, we're gonna have air conditioning, we wanted to move forward, we didn't want to wait for that energy recovery unit, so those units will be running, when the ERV unit comes in, we'll take a weekend, we'll go in there and put those units up and hook it back into the system, and then, everything will be, we'll have them run through the balancing and everything again at that point. So that's kind of the process there. Essentially, we kept trying to talk to them about getting it resubmitted, and they kept saying that they would, and they, it was just, it kind of went back and forth, and it went on too long, it just did.
This one unit or multiple units?
2.
Two? Okay. And has that been the main holdup along the whole route, is just these units, because you're waiting to Are they large enough you can't get them in through a doorway, or did they have to come in? Is that why you couldn't enclose?
Well, I mean, they go, they got hook, we gotta have the ductwork hooked up above the ceiling, so we're kind of waiting to close some of the ceilings in, and, we were moving forward as best we could. There was, the drywall wasn't as fast as you should be. We had a couple subcontractors that were just, we're just not, we kept pushing, but that's why we're probably as close as we are at this point. I mean, a couple of those things could have gone along a little better than that too.
But yeah, like you said, drywallers, plumbers have been an issue. You get one guy that backs us up a week and then it just kind of snowballs, as you go forward, it just holds everybody up, and you get 3 days behind one thing and it takes you a week to try to recover from that. It's just kind of a snowball effect, and that's what's taken us down to the last days here.
Where are we at this point, as far as completion and getting the kids in and moving forward?
Well, at this point, I mean, we're getting all the finishes in. The fire marshal was through today. He wants to come back tomorrow. There was a couple of items that we just needed a little bit of sealant and caulking and things around that. So it's basically the big thing is to get his approval for occupancy. We'll go, we've got one clean, they're gonna come back through and do another clean. That's kind of the last part of it. The inspector's been through too, is that right?
Yeah, the city inspector's been through, talking with state fire marshal and city inspector and the state electrical inspector. Looks like everything's good. We're on track to get that permit yet this week and move forward. I really believe by midday, Wednesday, we'll have a building.
It seemed like during this entire process, we could drive by and there was no activity going on for weeks and weeks. Can you explain that? I would have people in the public say, why is the insulation sitting out there for the last 3 months and it's raining on it? It just seemed like there was no sense of urgency to move that forward. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, that was part of the initial, until, I guess if you're talking after April, we were moving, but we had to get the building up, and it's hard to get, you got one sub working at that point in the erection, and until that building gets up and enclosed, there's really not too many other subs we can get in there. And so, once it's enclosed, then, we're hitting with a lot more subcontractors and a lot more people at that point, so.
And actually, after the walls went up on the building, we had metal stud framing going on inside that probably couldn't have been seen from the street. There was actually metal studs going up before the roof was completed.
I do have to say, I'm very, very disappointed that the building isn't ready to go by August 1 because it really affects our students and staff. And I feel just horrible for them to have to delay school, and you have kids who are excited to go to school. They have siblings who are going to school in other buildings. And what it does to our staff to have to locate in one area and then move again. I am very, very disappointed in how this whole project has gone. I do have to say that.
Well, we apologize, and I assure you we're not happy neither, and I wish I could, go back and change those things that happened. We try to keep them all rolling as much as we can. It's been a very busy construction summer. We seem to all fight for the same subcontractors, and, we have a couple of them that disappointed us on this one, and that's hard for us to recover. And, like I said again, I apologize. We had every intention to be done. It just, we had a couple things a couple subcontractors that just made it impossible to get it done any sooner than it was.
Well,
Well, and it was one of the reasons that we voted when we did to go ahead with the project, so you would have ample time to get it done. And so, like I said, it's very disappointing, probably as much for the students and the staff. And I feel really bad for Paddock Lane, parents, students, and their staff.
I guess I didn't ever quite sense any urgency on any of your parts about the status of the building. I mean, maybe you communicated with the superintendent or with Pat, but I never felt like anything was moving, any information was being sent to us about the status, and people would say, that building's not going to be done, and I don't know a lot about construction, so I thought, oh, well, they said it would be done, I'm sure it will be. But do any of you bear any responsibility for better communication with us, so we would have been better prepared for this? And I guess I look at people, why were people working overtime last Saturday and Sunday, not mid-July, knowing we wanted an August 1st deadline? I guess I'd like to hear from everybody.
Well, we did communicate throughout the process, but I communicated directly with Pat. I assumed that he was keeping you all informed. I apologize if that was not the case. It was never communicated to me to contact the board, but you know, when Jason came on board and it looked like he was copying all of you, we started to copy all of you as well.
That was helpful.
We were copied because we are the ones that answer to the public seemingly for, I guess, in this particular instance, lack of progress. I mean, I've had numerous people ask, as we all have. I mean, Janet hit the nail on the head. I don't know how many times people have stopped me and asked me, why is there no one at Paddock Lane? You know, months have gone by. Now it's a rush. I mean, I'm concerned about the quality of workmanship if all of a sudden now we're in a rush and we slap it up in 2 weeks. I'll be honest.
Well, you know, I mean, it's a process of construction. It's kind of like I touched on earlier. There's certain people have to get through the process. You know, we can't, there's certain, the framing has to happen before the electrician can put his electrical in the walls, the plumbing can put his electrical in the walls. So there's certain portions of a project that you can have multiple subcontractors on a job. When you get to the end, you always have multiple subcontractors, and we almost invariably, I mean, some of the guys are working overtime and late hours just because it's easier, because there's always more people there. You have carpeting, you have ceilings, you have painting, you have doors, you have casework. I mean, all those things have to come in essentially at the same time. So you're gonna always see more people there at the end of the project. But in the framing and the rough end stages, you're not gonna see it. And, you know, we wish we would have you know, gone through that phase a little quicker. But, I mean, the process was there. I mean, the frames, like Ray said, we put the framing up probably sooner than, you know, we would normally put it up. We tried to get the rough ends done as soon as we could. And that, you know, that's where, you know, some of it started dragging, was with the rough ends from the plumber. And then we can't put the drywall on until the plumber gets done. So, I mean, that was probably our biggest delay for that portion of the project. And we're, you know, we're doing everything we can at this point, because we know we can put all these people in here. These people, this one doesn't have to wait for that one. They can all work, we just have to share the space. So that's what we're trying to accomplish at this point.
Well, I appreciate that you guys have come to talk to us tonight. I guess my disappointment was the same as everybody else's. I was probably well known around the property because I drove by about every day. But I know the downtimes, working and schedule and things like that did make it drag on quite a bit, and a lot of moving parts in your job, and although that's not an excuse because you guys deal with that all the time, but I guess from our standpoint, that's where our disappointment has come from, and I am glad that we're now nearing the end, and I think that our product will be a good one when we're totally complete with it. And I think that we put the property into shape here the last couple of weeks. It's starting to look like a building now, and everything is falling into that area, so.
Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate that, and I assure you, quality-wise, you know, we're staying on that. When we get through, we'll do a punch list, we'll walk through, if there's any items not up to, you know, what's expected, we'll get them taken care of immediately. Anything that comes up, I mean, we have a 1-year warranty, we will come back if there's anything that you happen to find after the fact. I mean, we don't walk away from buildings, we'll do a punch list and we'll catch everything that might be there, and that's the normal process,
Yes,
you
the
know.
normal process, so. And this week, DLR, I think every one of their engineers has been out, reviewed, we've taken care of those items as they come up.
Mike's
Just
been available every day for us,
Yeah.
you know, to do.
Mike has run out of his way to make himself available to us anytime there was an issue or something needed to be addressed.
And we do have a punch list.
Yeah, DLR has been out and done their mechanical and their electrical punches, and they'll be out to do a civil punch as well. And then I will be out there tomorrow afternoon to do a punch, general for the entire building. So we'll be looking at inside, outside, everything. And we'll generate as long a punch list as necessary. And that all has to get worked off for final completion.
And will that be done by Monday, the 20th?
The final completion, no. It will not.
So when are you anticipating that will be done?
That will be done probably by the time, when the ERV gets installed, which.
I mean, the majority of these will be cosmetic things, and if we need to come in after school to do them, there won't be anything that'll keep you from moving in. I mean, typically, these are.
So it won't disrupt classrooms and,
No, we'll come in after school to do anything that we don't get completed by the time we spend it. Now,
and when
the
do you
ERV
anticipate that to be? When do you anticipate it to be completely
Well, we need to
finished?
see the list, so, I mean, you know, we usually can finish them within a week to 2 weeks, so.
So you would say by mid-September?
Which is when the ERV comes.
Right.
I'm sorry? You were both talking, so,
Which is when the ERV comes, is the 20th of September is when it shows up on site?
The other day, yeah, so, I mean, I guess what he's saying is, so by the time the ERV is complete, all the other items will be complete also, so.
okay, but that's September 20th, so we're looking at another 5
We can,
weeks.
I mean, typically we can do a punch list in 2 weeks, so, you know, if we
So
get.
now we're October 1st, then.
Not October 1st, no, I mean, we get the punch list here next week.
But the ERV doesn't come until September 20th?
I think possibly, yeah.
Ray, I don't, do you have the
Yeah.
exact date? I don't have it with me.
I just wanna know, I kinda like
The
them,
ship-
Jan, I just wanna know when it's all
I
gonna be
believe the
done.
ship
Me
date
too.
was the 16th on that, wasn't it? And then we got a few days to get it here and then a few days to install it.
Yeah, I thought it was the 23rd was when it would be finished.
Finished, yeah.
It was communicated to us that the 16th would be the day that the ERV would arrive. And upon arrival, your crews would do whatever was necessary to get them
Well, we
in.
wanna do that on a weekend, I mean, we'll do it after, you know, preferably if it falls in line, if you have
I
a.
think there was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday there, wasn't there, or something
Yeah.
that
Thought
we
we'd like to-
discussed?
Yep.
I mean, as soon as it's in, we'll let you
The
know.
21st, 22nd, 23rd was the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right. That we talked about doing.
I think just in soaking all this in and trying to bring some sort of closure to it, I would say there are some things that happened throughout the midst of this project that were out of your control. An example of that on the punch list would be the toilet, or the bathroom partitions. The company that originally spec'd the partitions and the partitions were ordered through, went out of business in late, well, it was after I had come on, so it was mid-July when we found that out. So those partitions will not be in, but we have a temporary plan, the way that I understand, to create separation in the bathrooms to allow us to use the facility. So in transparency, just wanting to make sure that everybody knows that.
These were supposed to ship last week, they didn't ship. They're not gonna ship until the end of this week, so we're gonna put plastic laminate partitions in. They'll be temporary. As soon as the real partitions come in, we'll come in and take them out and put new ones in. So they were discontinued, the color was discontinued, they had to be reordered. Is there something that we don't look down delivered until the end of the project because we don't have any place to put them typically? So we're expecting them to come, and then they said that they're discontinued, so Mike will give us another color, we ordered them, and at that point, we got into the line with that, so. But we can get partitions in there so that there's separation.
I do think there are probably those things in experiencing construction before. I think there are those things that happen beyond the scope of your control. I would also say that in coming into the middle of the movie without any popcorn or previews, that I speak on behalf of these 6 people in expressing the disappointment that the completion date agreed upon was August 1st. There were no liquidation damages included in the original contract because that would have driven the costs up. In hindsight being what it is, liquidation damages might have been a wise thing to include, because the agreed date for completion was August 1st. And I feel their disappointment, and I empathize with their disappointment because they are the ones that have to answer. So, note to self in future construction projects, liquidation damages will probably be something that we look at the forefront, not in hindsight. Accountability is a big factor in this as well. I understand the ERB units are not going to prevent us from opening school. We're going to have air conditioning. We're going to have substantial completion. Complete completion won't be until the 1st of October. Again, multiple reasons for that final completion not being done, but the agreed date was August 1st. I would just say that I appreciate the fact that the 3 of you have shown up tonight, 4 of you have shown up tonight to explain, to do your best to explain. That says a lot about you. Unfortunately, you were also in charge of all those subcontractors that were supposed to be there as well. They're not here to take the wrath of this. You have been there every Wednesday that we've met since July, the 1st of July, to listen to me rant and rave. And I want you to know that means something to me on behalf of these individuals. But in the future, we will look to those decisions of liquidation fees and damages in future projects. I appreciate you being here tonight. Betty and her staff have adjusted accordingly with her plan and her leadership. I'm confident that our staff will do everything possible to still make an exciting start to the school year. But I think you have to understand where we come from it, from the perspective we come at it from. We have 345 kids that are excited to start school on the day they were initially told they would start school, and they're not going to be able to. So, again, I will just say in closure that I appreciate you being here and taking the wrath for all of the groups of individuals, but and I appreciate how you've pushed through the last 2 weeks to get started.
Well, and I will say, and I do, we take full responsibility. I mean, this is what we do. You're right. This is our job. This is no means the way we expected this to happen, and we take it very seriously. We do a lot of schoolwork, a lot of schoolwork. I can give you school districts from southeast Nebraska to north central Nebraska that we work in. And so we do this a lot, and so we're used to these time frames, and we don't take them lightly. And, you know, this one, we had some issues that we thought we were on top of, and, you know, apparently we weren't, and it snowballed into something that was not what we expected, but we do take it lightly, and we do apologize. You know, we'll wrap it up and get out of your way as soon as possible.
I have a few notes I'll mention. I'm 5 weeks into a truss order that I just found out this morning it has to be reordered. So I understand the idea that things are out of control and that the responsibility comes back to us. The only thing I will mention is at some point, we are responsible for our subcontractors. So at that point, during those slow times, you may have been on bail. And for the board, Michael has done a wonderful job throughout this thing. I have seen communication with Pat. You have kept him up to speed. And also, Steve and I have worked on some group picking out colors and doing all that. So you've done a wonderful job keeping things moving and going as you went throughout the project. So I have no complaints there. You did a fabulous job. Having said that, disappointed we're not in, but I'm glad to see that you're going to move forward, get things done, and make a good quality project out of it. Thank you all for coming and speaking with us. I know it's not difficult, or not easy, to sit here in front of us and talk about it, so I appreciate you coming in. Anybody else have anything else on this topic that they would like to say?
Thinking back to when we moved into the high school, I mentioned to Jason before that we had, remember the number of people, parents, and everybody that we had helping move things from downtown out to the new high school. Is there something we can do to help Terry and his crew to do some of the moving? I mean, could we see what we could get for volunteer help?
I'll let him speak to that.
Well, Betty's pretty much got everything lined up, and then we've got our staff lined up. I'll pull some people from the high school, from the middle school to help. Our biggest issue is you get too many people, and then things get kind of congested. So they did offer, Rugged Construction did offer to bring in movers. We just feel that it'd be best just if our staff did it because we kind of keep it more organized.
Appreciate that suggestion.
All right, anyone else? All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to the action portion of our meeting. We'll start off with the approval of contract with Dr. Don Blue, school psychologist for the 2018-2019 school year.
I move
Oh, sorry.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the contract with Dr. Don Law, school psychologist for the 2018-2019 school year.
I second the motion.
Motion by Doris, second by Nancy. Mr. Alexander, do you have anything in comments you'd like to make on that?
No, I don't. We are moving forward with that as quickly as we can. We do know that Dr. Bila is going to have to become a member of our staff for ESU 5, so we are working to establish all of that and get that figured out. But outside of that, we're excited to have him be a school psychologist for us, and we're moving forward.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with any comments or questions? All right, with that, can I have your votes, please? All right, that is approved 6-0. Next up, we have approval of the contract with,
Rhiannon.
thank you, speech language pathologist for the 2018-2019 school year. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the contract with Rhiannon Spitak, speech language pathologist for the 2018-2019 school year.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second motion.
Second by Nancy. Mrs. Cordry Hoekstra. Is there anything you'd like to?
Well, just that she is replacing Jess Wagner, who was a .6 FTE, and Rhiannon can give us .5 FTE, so it'll be a little bit of savings, and then if there's any extra, or she's, yeah, .5. So, she can give us 2 days a week and then every other Friday, so it's not quite the same amount of services that we were receiving. But we have another SLP who's willing to come in as needed to pick up that extra little bit of services if we are not able to cover it with a .5 instead of a .6 FTE.
Any questions or comments?
One of the things you'll find across the entire state of Nebraska is that an SLP is like a needle in a haystack. And so finding people to replace these people is a very difficult project. And so we're going to pick up as much as we can. That also requires us to be pretty creative. So we've tried to do that. And thank you, Beth, for your work in getting that covered.
All right, thank you. Can I have your votes, please? That passes 6-0. Next up, we have approval of additional .48 FTE birth to 5 special education teacher. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the addition of a .48 FTE birth to 5 special education teacher.
I second the motion.
Motion by Doris, second by Nancy. Mr. Alexander.
Just a little bit of background information here. Up until about 3 weeks ago, and Missy, as the administrator of our preschool, you correct me if I say something inaccurate here, but Missy's been keeping us updated as to our 4-year-old enrollment. Up till about 3-4 weeks ago, we had 115 4-year-olds enrolled. We had 20 students that were on the waiting list. That basically we were saying we don't have room for them. In my eyes, that's just not the appropriate thing to do, is to have those 20 4-year-old students be without services. We've also been in the aspect of looking at a bus barn. And we made the decision as a Board of Education, and Mid-States kind of helped us with that decision by not being able to meet a time frame and just saying, you know, we've got to move forward with this, that we can't put a bus barn on the school's property, which afforded us the opportunity, in my mind, to do the right thing, which is service those 20 students in the preschool. And Missy's been on top of it. She's been searching for somebody. So it all worked out the way it probably should in the end, which is to put kids first. And that's what we did. So we're looking to move forward the .48 FTE to service, instead of what would be 115 4-year-old students, 133 to 135. And I don't know exactly where that number is right now, but I would know that Missy has stepped up to accept a lot of that responsibility in terms of home services and so forth. So if there's anything you'd like to add at this point, I would invite you to. But that's kind of the long and short of the story.
All right, comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll take your votes. And that passes 6-0. All right, next up, we have the administrator's report. Who is our administrator? I don't have that.
That's me.
But you.
I get a superintendent report and an administrator's report. Okay, I'm going to go back to what, and I'll invite these guys to speak. I'm just going to cover a few communication things that I didn't mention earlier. We have some thank yous, one from Fran Martin for her 50 years of service and the recognition that she received the other day on behalf of the Board of Education. What a great spirit. Holy cow. If you were at those service awards, you got to see someone who's very special, continues to take her job very seriously, And like I said, if I have that much energy when I'm 50 years in, then everybody better watch out. Also, a thank you from Mary Camacho Cook in appreciation of her service recognition the other day. And then I am going to pass around some thank you cards just to update everybody here on behalf of the Board of Education that I'll ask you to sign before you leave tonight, if you will, to a few special group of people who have helped us along the way here in the last 4 weeks. And the Beatrice Chamber sponsored our new teacher, or welcome our teachers back to Beatrice, or our new teachers. And so we want to thank all those people with a thank you. So we just say just a quick note to let you know we appreciate your help in welcoming our new teachers. Then to Brenda McNiff and the ESU 5 staff who are going to help us out with some upcoming SPED reports and things like that we will need some of their expertise. We just want to send them a note of thanks for their help in servicing our students, whether it's professional development, special education, or other. We do appreciate the educational service unit and look forward to building that relationship in the future. To Yule's Sports Store, who helped us sponsor the t-shirts at a reduced price for our entire staff. Just a note of thanks for helping sponsor our theme for the year and ordering and making our t-shirts, and they truly make a difference to us, and we appreciate them helping us with students. And then, as we noted earlier in our board retreat, one of our moments of pride is all the organization and teamwork that went into today's active shooter drills. And we didn't get that done in all buildings, in the high school and the middle school, but Chief Lang and the Beatrice Police Department need to know that we want to send them a quick note of thanks for their determination and dedication to keeping our students safe in the active and preparation of the active shooter drill this morning. I can promise you that whatever amount of hours that we put in thinking about student safety, you can multiply that about 10 in comparison to what they do. So that's another quick administrative report. I would invite any of you back there that would have anything to say.
Well, I just have one thing. Friday at 4:30 in the afternoon to 5:30, California will have sneak peek night, and the new building will be open, and teachers will be there to greet parents and children and board members if they would like to come and walk through the new building and see all that we've been up to get everything ready in the existing building and in what was considered the North Campus. So I know I heard from Lisa had sent me an email, and so I would just like to extend that invitation to all of you on Friday, if you can do it, maybe before you go out to the tailgate at the high school. So I'd love to see you there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Get you to talk.
I would just like to mention the level 3 program. The open house is tomorrow from 5 to 7. So if anyone's available to stop by, that would be great.
I just want to, if you get a chance, see any of the custodial staff or maintenance staff, they worked really hard this summer. They had a lot going on, and they did a really good job getting everything done.
I was going to say the same thing about Terry. Terry just works his tail off and just does a great job for us all through the year, but especially this year with all the things going on, how much we appreciate you.
Jason has mentioned many times how much he appreciates the work that Terry's done and all the custodial staff as well. So we definitely appreciate that. Anyone else? All right. Then that will end our administrator's report section. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be September 10th, 2018 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. The Committee of the Whole will be August 22nd, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. An agenda for the meeting, which shall be kept continually current, is readily available for public inspection at the Superintendent's office during normal business hours. At this point, I would take a motion for adjournment.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 adjourn.
May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Did you say? Okay, Nancy seconds that. Can I have your votes, please? And that is 6-0. We are adjourned.
I guess I'm working, honey. I'm physically here.